may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, long time no see. I understand that. I am very sorry for not uploading on this channel for maybe a couple months now. I mean, last time I uploaded, I think it was week 16 of the football season for our championship week. And yeah, I told y'all I'm going to keep the uploads on this channel to a minimum whenever we do upload during the offseason, because I'm going to keep this a redraft fantasy football channel. I'm going to maintain our stance that we are only going to cover the leagues where you're drafting a new team every single year. Now, y'all know I love Dynasty Fantasy Football. And that's why I'm going through and uploading a Dynasty Fantasy Football video every single day on our Dynasty channel. Now, I am sure if you play Dynasty, you're already subscribed to that by now. So I don't need to come out here and plug it too much outside of saying, if you're interested, just look up Dynasty Football Flock on YouTube and it should pop up. Maybe it'll be in the description of the video if I can remember to put it in there. But yeah, we are going to keep this straight to business. We are going to make sure that we are only talking about these 2021 rankings and not looking any further than that. And that's why we have on our business attire. Yes, I did just put on this for the video. Yes, I am wearing underwear under this, not necessarily pants. Yes, the shirt is extremely wrinkled. Yes, the jacket has throw-up stains all over it from the last time we went too hard on 6th Street. But regardless, we are going to keep it to business. We are going to be talking about these 2021 running back rankings. And as always, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment. And I know everyone's subscribed to the channel, so I don't even need to say that. And yeah, let's dive into it. So our first running back, our running back one for the 2021 football season is going to be Christian McCaffrey. And now I will say there are going to be so many moving variables when we go through and when we are evaluating these running backs a couple months from now. We know that offensive lines are going to change. We know that in some cases, quarterbacks are going to change, which can easily be the case for the Carolina Panthers. But for Christian McCaffrey, honestly, it doesn't even matter. We know that this is just a completely different breed of a running back. I mean, if we look at the past 3 seasons and what he's provided you on a points per game basis, regardless of who the quarterback is. We've seen him with some of the worst quarterbacks in the entire NFL. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater in 2020 was bad, but nothing close to as bad as 2019 was for Christian McCaffrey. So I'm not worried about the quarterback at all. Yes, if they can get an upgrade during the NFL draft, that would be fantastic. But when McCaffrey is going to be seeing this amount of targets out of the backfield, when he is that big-bodied running back that's also going to be getting usage at the goal line, there is no reason to shy away from him with the first pick overall in our 2021 fantasy drafts. Now, last year, obviously, we had a very small sample to look at with Christian McCaffrey, as this was a running back that suffered a multitude of injuries, and it was really kind of hard to even know when he was going to be playing. And when he played those games, he kind of left early, just because we understand that if you are CMC at this point, at least last season, there was no need, there was no demand for you to go out there and try to play through injury. We knew the Carolina Panthers were not really in the running to make the playoffs. So if you're Christian McCaffrey, are you going to be putting your body on the line? Are you going to be going out there and risking long-term injury? No, I think CMC played it correctly. He shut himself down. But even in the few games that we saw, even in the games that he left early, I mean, he was still able to average 30 points per game and was the #1 running back on a points per game basis. Now, obviously, very small sample, so we don't know if that would have held up throughout the course of the entire season. But McCaffrey is still a lot younger than a lot of people would want to expect, considering he was drafted in the same draft class as Leonard Fournette, as Joe Mixon, as Dalvin Cook, all those 2017 running backs, a historic class of running backs. But here with CMC, let me know in the comments if y'all have anything different. Let me know if I am overlooking something here, because I don't care who his quarterback is. I genuinely think that McCaffrey is just in a tier of his own. Now for Dynasty, I'll say, yeah, we're going to have a little bit of hesitation to put CMC at #1 just because of the injuries and how he's kind of transformed his body throughout his career. But if we're just talking about 2021 rankings, McCaffrey has to be at the very top for us. All right, so now our next running back, I'm going to admit that if y'all are following the Dynasty Fantasy Football channel, I'm worried about his long-term value. But if we are just talking about this season, I mean, he looks like he is going to be an elite asset, and this is Dalvin Cook. So Cook is going to come in here at number 2, and we know that this is another running back playing for a team that the answer is not set at quarterback. While Kirk Cousins does have guaranteed money, we have heard a multitude of trade rumors centered around Kirk Cousins and not really understanding what the Minnesota Vikings are going to look like coming into the following football year. But as it stands, Dalvin Cook is close to being in that same range as Christian McCaffrey, as it doesn't matter. I mean, every time he has touched the football field, he has been a dominant workhorse running back. It doesn't matter that Alexander Mattison looks good when he also gets the opportunity, because when Dalvin Cook is healthy, Dalvin Cook is seeing every single touch in that backfield. And last season, especially knowing that the Minnesota Vikings started off slowly, Dalvin Cook had an extremely impressive year coming from someone who has been known to be a Dalvin Cook hater. I just kind of have to hold the L here. I have to go, you know what? He averaged over 24 points per game last season, and it wasn't necessarily the best situation on the planet. I mean, he was able to finish as the running back 3 in points per game, and that's including Christian McCaffrey's small sample. So if you want to throw that out of there, you can even say that Dalvin Cook was the number 2 running back in points per game. So even if the quarterback is changing, I think that we are going to have Dalvin Cook at the very top of fantasy rankings. And if the quarterback does change, possibly it goes to a Deshaun Watson. And can you imagine Deshaun Watson with his rushing capability freezing opposing linebackers, allowing Dalvin Cook to get an extra step on the outside? Yeah, Dalvin Cook going to have to come in here at number 2 as a prototypical workhorse. All right, so now I understand at this number 3 spot, we are going to ruffle some feathers. I know that if we are looking at draft boards right now that are getting kicked off, this running back is not going as the 3rd running back overall. But we are going to be having Saquon Barkley here. And I'll say a few things on Saquon Barkley. If you have not been following the Dynasty Fantasy Football channel, I mean, Barkley and his long-term value kind of just so undervalued, in my opinion. Because if you look at Saquon Barkley coming into the NFL out of Penn State, he was by far and away, I think we can all agree, to be a top running back prospect throughout of all history. I mean, name a running back prospect that had the size, that had the athleticism, that had the pass catching ability coming out of college like a Saquon Barkley. And really, you can't. I mean, good luck doing so. We know after Saquon Barkley's rookie season at the same time, so many people wanted to come out and say, hey, this is the best running back we've ever seen. Saquon Barkley is going to be dominating the NFL season after season after season. And in 2019, we did not necessarily get a chance to see that because Saquon Barkley kind of dealt with some nagging injuries where he was still at the top of rankings week in and week out, but not necessarily a clear tier ahead of everyone else like we expected him to be. And in 2020, yeah, I mean, the 1 week that he played, he looked horrendous, but you can't blame him. It was the Giants' offensive line that really struggled at the beginning of the year. But if we look at this overall New York Giants situation going into 2021, I mean, I think we can all agree that Daniel Jones can only get better from what he has been his first 2 NFL seasons. And even if Daniel Jones does not get better, there's the outside chance that they bring someone else in. We've seen this recently where teams aren't necessarily giving their rookie quarterbacks just 4 or 5 years to prove that they can develop. If we look back at a Dwayne Haskins, if we look back at a Josh Rosen, we are understanding that some of these guys are being let go a little bit earlier than you would have seen 10 years ago. So maybe we see the New York Giants upgrade at quarterback. If not, it literally can't get worse. And on top of that, I think if they do not decide to upgrade at quarterback, they are going to have to do something on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe they go O-line. Maybe they decide to end up going with a wide receiver that can stretch the field and make it where opposing defenses can't stack the box against Saquon Barkley. And Barkley tore his ACL at the very beginning of the season. So we know that he is going to have all of the time to recover that you would want from a running back, very similar to what we've been saying about Courtland Sutton, who tore his ACL in week 1. I believe Saquon Barkley tore it in week 2. So Barkley, we don't have to worry about the injury. The situation can only be better in 2021 compared to what it was in 2020? And can we all remember that there was that month stretch where Wayne Gallman was a running back 1 in fantasy? Now, if Wayne Gallman, of all running backs, can provide you that type of production, I think we can say the same thing here about Saquon Barkley. All right, so now let's go to our next running back, someone that I know a lot of people want to put at number 3. Maybe they have him at number 2, but I just can't. And this is going to be Alvin Kamara. So yeah, guys, I know Alvin Kamara left off the season with a complete bang. If you look at his massive performance to end the year, Alvin Kamara ended up jumping up to the number 2 running back in points per game with 25 points per game. If you throw out Christian McCaffrey and his small sample size, you can even say Alvin Kamara was the number 1 running back. But we have some real question marks here. I mean, nobody is expecting Drew Brees to start a single game for the New Orleans Saints. We know that it's either going to be Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, or possibly they're going to bring someone else in. But I kind of broke this down on the Dynasty channel a couple weeks ago. Taysom Hill, we already saw, does not want to check down to the running backs, and that's where Alvin Kamara sees all of his fantasy production is with those checkdowns, where he's possibly, outside of Christian McCaffrey, the best running back coming out of the backfield to catch the ball in the entire NFL. And on top of that, if they go with Jameis Winston, Winston is also going to be a quarterback checking down. I think we can all remember back to Tampa, where Winston is going to be that DGAF quarterback trying to push the ball as far downfield as he possibly can. So neither one of those options is that great for Alvin Kamara. Where, I mean, yeah, we still have him as a top 5 running back just because the talent, just because the offensive line, just because the overall scheme. But moving from Drew Brees to another one of these options is definitely going to hurt him. And that's going to have to drop him down here for me. I mean, I don't want to pull up the numbers directly because we can all remember how frustrating it was when Taysom Hill was the starter for the New Orleans Saints. When Alvin Kamara isn't seeing the 7 targets a game, I mean, Alvin Kamara falls from being a top 3 running back to a running back 2. And now I think we can take a step back and go, you know what? If they have an entire season to game plan with Taysom Hill as their starter, if they bring someone else in, if they bring in Jameis Winston, whoever they want to start for their team, obviously they're going to have a more of a chance to actually implement a game plan where Alvin Kamara can fit better with the quarterback that they are starting. So I don't think we see the exact same thing that we had with Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara in 2020. But I do not necessarily think that we can look at this situation and go, it's going to be just like it was with Drew Brees. All right, so now let's go to our next running back, and this was a running back ranking that I struggled with. This was someone that I was like, oh my gosh, there are like 3 or 4 guys that I can put here at the number 5 spot. But we settled in on Derrick Henry, who was the running back 4 in points per game last season with 20 points per game. And Derrick Henry is going to have his situation extremely stable coming into the next year. Now, I will say that Henry is going to be 27, so older than any other running back on this entire list, and that's always a worry. I mean, just think about how quickly Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, they all fell off. And note that Derrick Henry is like a year younger than Le'Veon Bell. He's like a year younger, maybe 2 years younger than David Johnson, and he's older than Todd Gurley. He's right there in that range. So he's not 100% going to fall off. We can't necessarily come out here and say that, oh, Derrick Henry is in that Le'Veon Bell range. But what we have to understand is we have to understand that it's in the range of outcomes. It's not necessarily just crazy to say that Derrick Henry could come out here and he could significantly regress on the long touchdown runs that he is going to have. But with how well him and Ryan Tannehill work together with an elite offensive line, I think until we see the fall off, we have to continue to rank Derrick Henry as a top 5 running back. And the man's a monster. I mean, you can make an argument that he's a different breed, which I'm completely fine with. And so that's why as of February 19th, we are going to have Derrick Henry as the running back 5. All right, so now let's go to the running back 6, and we are running out of time here, so I think what we're actually going to do, because I want to dive in a little bit deeper with these players, I don't want to necessarily be rushed. Let's break this down. Let's do the top 6 running backs in one video, and then we will do the next 6 running backs in the next video. But let's talk about Jonathan Taylor here. Let's go through and talk about our number 6 ranked running back. I know this is going to be a lot higher than other people want to put him, but JT was the running back 14 in points per game last season. And the number one question everyone had with Jonathan Taylor coming out of Wisconsin as a rookie is, what is his pass catching role going to be like? He lands on a team with Nyheim Hines, who we all know is a great catcher of the football out of the backfield. And Jonathan Taylor, while he proved his junior season at Wisconsin that he possessed enough talent to catch the ball out of the backfield, by no means was it a strength of his. His strength is just running the football. But Jonathan Taylor came out in year 1 and showed that he was a fantastic pass catcher. So I think that we can say it's in the range of outcomes that Jonathan Taylor comes out here and is a 3-down running back from day 1. And if we are looking at the end of the season this past year compared to the entire season, the end of the season, Jonathan Taylor was really able to turn it up. I mean, we look at after week 11, Jonathan Taylor averaged over 21 points per game, and he was a top 5 running back consistently. That is something that you cannot ignore. And with Carson Wentz coming in, now I don't love Carson Wentz, but it's at least better than Jacoby Brissett. I mean, at least they have some answer at the quarterback position, where I think the strength of the offensive line, the strength of Jonathan Taylor himself is going to make it where we have to rank him as a top 6 running back. And I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't even hate it if you decided to take Jonathan Taylor over Derrick Henry. Just at this time when Derrick Henry is going to be seeing every single touch out of his backfield, I don't necessarily know if we can do that, but they are so very close. All right, now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. And yeah, go down to the comment section. I really need to hear your opinion. I need y'all to tell me what y'all are wanting from this channel this offseason. Because if you want Dynasty content, that's going to be found on the other channel. But I can talk about 2021 fantasy football. I can run some live mock drafts if y'all would like to do that as well. Just let me know in the comment section, and I'll see y'all with the video. I don't want to say tomorrow, but sometime soon.